1 to go.
Hi Jack, it's nice to do this face to face, isn't it?
Why you say it like that?
Because we've been doing Zooms.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have, haven't we?
I've missed that.
Yes, no, it's good. It's good to do one in person.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of a break, hasn't it?
Were we on a break?
Yeah, but I think it's because you got COVID again.
Yeah. Well, is it like the Ross and Rachel thing? We were on a break. I've been podcasting with other people, but we were on a break.
No, it's absolutely nothing like that.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I think it's definitely just because you got COVID and then I fucked off for like a month and a half.
Doing the things you do.
Yeah.
We were going to have a break anyway, weren't we?
Yeah, I think that's the plan, wasn't it?
But now we've got Zooms. That's good. I think that's good to add Zooms in because now we can go further afield with the...
Yeah, of course you can. Good. I think it's good.
We've got an exciting podcast today.
Who have we got on?
Ian and Jill, I think. I'm terrible.
Wait, stop saying I think.
I went for a coffee with him the other day and I said to him, I'll have to ask you your name 100 times because I'm terrible with them. And he said, okay, Dave. No, he doesn't really. Right. I got asked recently to do a mental health speech, didn't I, for some businesses. There was different businesses.
Yep. And who asked you?
There was just loads of different businesses come there. I got a message on Facebook and asked if I could appear. I can't remember everyone's names.
Sam.
There was a few people that I've been invited to different events recently.
Okay.
And I've been doing speeches. I can't keep up with who. I've got it all written down in a diary, Jack. I didn't know you were going to ask me questions, right? But I went to
This is an interview, Sam.
Andy Proctor was there, who's done podcasts with Verzo in the past, who done this at the beginning with me.
Yep.
They've got a podcast together. He was there and he was brilliant, by the way. Really settled my nerves before I went on because it is a bit daunting to speak. I thought there was going to be a couple of people there. There was like 40 odd people there. Yeah. But,
well, you were just talking about you, weren't you? So.
And Suffolk Mind. Well, no, not just me. Just like mental health and the cold water therapy and just everything that's helped me out, and hopefully it can help some other people out. Yeah. But it was an honour to be asked. But that was at the Nutshell where we're going to go in a minute to go and do the podcast. And the owner there done a little speech himself at the end and just explained a little bit about why they've ended up in Felixstowe. Right. And they had, this might be wrong again, but they had a business in Sporton maybe, I'm not sure, it might be, he'll tell you more, but they had a business, him and his wife met, decided they loved bakery, wanted to run their own business, had a successful business, and there was that massive fire recently, weren't there?
Yes.
That was his business that burnt to the ground. He had 19 staff working for him. Yeah. And he sat down and got them all his staff new jobs and everything, but a couple of them have come and worked for him here, which speaks volumes for how they are as people, I think. But the way he spoke, it really stood out to me, and as soon as we were done with the chat, I nabbed him and said, you'd be ideal for the podcast. And he was up for it. So I went and met him the other day, confirmed some dates, rung you, made sure you were free, and that's where we're at now.
Well, we're not there yet, are we?
No, but that's where we're at now. But not now. It's like the Twilight Zone.
So how are you anyway?
Very good, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, you
very
sure?
Good. Yeah, I had long COVID. Well,
you've still got long COVID.
Well, I don't know if I have. I don't know.
Christ.
Like, as you know, I'm a hypochondriac.
No. Really?
My mind likes to play tricks on me. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's real and what's not. Let me give you an example of mine. And I think I've told you this story before.
Probably.
This is how my brain works as a hypochondriac. And it is a funny story, but it is serious as well. Right, my mate, I was talking to him in town once, and a girl went past, and I clearly won't mention any names, but he went, oh, don't go near her, she give me a sexually transmitted disease. I've already been near her. So I got home, and that night, all of a sudden, I developed symptoms where I had a burning sensation. Right? Now, I couldn't get into the clinic for weeks. I was ringing them, I couldn't get hold of them. Took me ages to get in there, and every single night I had a burning sensation down below, right? And I waited in this in this thing. I've told you about this, haven't I? I waited there. I got a ticket come out of the machine and it said 98, and I was sat there for ages and it was going 1, 2, 3. Got to 96, 97, and then they went to 99. They skipped me and I went up and they said it doesn't go in order, and I thought, well, it has been.
Yeah.
I was there for ages anyway. And then when it threw me, it was a woman nurse. And I went in and there was a little, like a metal tray thing, and it had loads of tools on it. She only used one, so I don't know why there was loads of them, but it threw me, it freaked me out. And she sat at her computer and she said, drop your cacks and sit down there. So I did, and for some reason, and to this day, I have no idea why, but there was leg stirrups there. And I put my legs in the stirrups. And she turned around, and the look on her face, I clearly realised I'd made a mistake. My left leg got caught in the stirrup. I was getting out of bed. I was trying to yank. The bed was moving. It was a nightmare. She was laughing, very unprofessional. It was just a nightmare day. And then after that, I had to go into a room. There was 2 little old ladies waiting there, and they said, go and pee in this bottle, and I can't go under pressure. So I had to come out with an empty bottle. I was running the tap. I could hear them saying, like, he's been in there a while. They went and sat me back down in the room where I waited for ages with water and that. It was a nightmare. Anyway, this point of the story, it come back and I had the all clear, and all my symptoms went away. But that's what my mind does to me. It plays tricks on me.
Genuinely, it makes me so happy that you've shared that with all of our listeners, that you've put that out into the world, Sam. That's
I've got no filter.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, the only way I can really relate to that is just with when I had my initial sort of health anxiety around my heart, and finding out all of that, and I think I'd feel like little twinges or little things, or like a tightness in my chest, and immediately I'd just think, oh, this is it, I'm going to die, I'm going to drop down dead, and I'm having a cardiac arrest. But it wasn't. It's just naturally you have moments you like pull a muscle, or you can kind of feel like
that's what I always used to think at school, was having a heart attack, and it was anxiety, not in my chest. I know that now, it's in fight or flight, but at the time I didn't know it. Now I have the doctor saying, and I felt rough since I've had COVID. I felt rotten, and in the mornings in particular, and then I spoke to you a couple of times in the evening, and I've been out of breath when I've been walking back from work. Been alright when I've been at work and everything. The doctor said it was long COVID, but I wanted more reassurance and that. Went to the doctors. I had loads of tests done, heart monitored, blood tests done. Then they sent me up to Ipswich to get heart X-ray. That's all come back all clear. They want me to wear a heart monitor at work for 24 hours just to check everything's all right with that. But I put post up, and I wanted to lead by example. That was the point in the post, and it did worry a few people, which wasn't the intention. The intention of the post was to say, look, I am struggling a little bit with my mental health at the minute because I haven't been able to go in the water, but I just wanted to lead by example, because I can't preach to everyone else to share what's going on with them and not do it myself. Do you know what I mean? So that was the intent of the post. But at the same time, I'm so glad I did share that, because I so many different people that I don't even know messaged me and sent me voice notes and stuff about trying things, and the majority of stuff that stood out was breath work and a acupuncture mat. I bought the acupuncture mat, and I've been doing breath work on that, and since doing that, day and night, when I first wake up in the morning and when I go to bed, I've noticed a massive improvement in my breathing, especially. Good. Yeah. So I generally believe that the human body is an incredible thing, and while there is all these viruses and stuff out there, I think there is natural ways that we can cure ourselves with anything. I think. Yeah. That's my belief, anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you've kind of got yourself into a bit of a better state, mate, and the whole long COVID thing is really. It's difficult. It's tough times for some people, and I know a few people, and I'm going to get Reese on as well to talk about it as well. He's
had it for a while, hasn't he?
And that's an ongoing thing, really. There's still a lot of people. I just sort of had my first day back at my regular place of work today, and still got people off with COVID and people who are struggling, and it's tough, mate.
Perhaps you can set up a chat before the podcast, and I can give him some advice on what's worked for me. So
exactly. Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm glad it's all
yeah,
good, mate.
I started back with the cold water as well because with anything as well, which I think is an important thing. The doctor told me not to do it, but at the same time, he doesn't know my brain and he doesn't know my body, and I have to. With anything I do now, I draw a line down the paper and put the benefits and the non-benefits on each side, and whatever outweighs the other one is what I go with these days.
Yeah.
And my mental health was being affected massively by not being able to do showers and cold water, and it just all this has done is proven to me how effective cold water therapy is as a tool, because my head was going again. Do you know what I mean? And since I got into the cold water.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I went in early this morning and I hadn't done one. I think I did one before I went back for my last week, but I got down there this morning early and. That was really difficult actually. When I first got there, I didn't want to get in.
Yeah.
And I stood there for a good sort of 3-4 minutes, just looking out to sea and watching the sun come up, and that was lovely. But there was something inside me going, "Don't get in. It's too cold. It's too cold. It's a bit windy. Don't get in.
I bet you didn't regret it once you did.
Oh, mate! Honestly,
never regretted it.
5 minutes into being in there, I was singing in the bloody water. That was how literally it completely changed my whole.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and I stood there and I felt a little bit low and a little bit like first day back and got a lot of catch up and stuff to do, and then I was I can't really be bothered to get in. I'll just go into work early and to start catching up, and then I thought no bollocks. So
now.
Yeah, and then literally I just I slid my hoodie off, took my hat off, and I just went straight in. And
ironically, they're the days you need it the most.
They are.
When you don't want to do it.
Yeah, they are.
And you're only when you do something and push past your limits of doing something when you don't want to.
Yeah.
That's for even with a cold shower, something you hesitate to put it on, but you do it.
Yeah.
The only thing is that's going to come out of that is discipline and growth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%, mate. Yes.
I'm proud of you for going in today, even though you didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because the outcome is always the same. Always the same. There is days, like we said before, where you don't want to get in the water. Yeah, but there's days. There's never been one day where I've regretted going in.
And I had a good day back. It's really good today. Exactly, really productive. Caught up with loads of people that I ain't seen for like a month, and that was brilliant. That was really, really good.
Right, we better go anyway because they're waiting for us.
Oh, you just
sorry, mate.
That's fine.
Enough about you.
On that note, like and subscribe, Dare to Talk on YouTube and Spotify. Big thank you to my friend Nancy, who made a little logo for us recently, and we've started putting that on the new videos and stuff like that. Like and subscribe. I'm Jackie Boy Shep on Instagram. Sam is Jesus Christ, useless.
Dare _2_dip.
Sam's on Instagram. Find him. Dare to Dip on Facebook. Please ask to join the group. Fantastic community. And check out all of our previous episodes, including the amazing Hermit of Traig, which was super duper.
Right, come on then, let's go.
And for the next hour, he showed me how to roast coffee, everything they did. I mean, he literally, and then we sat in the room and he made coffee for us. I've never drunk so much coffee.
Yeah.
I'll have that one. Yeah. And then we had to go and do it again because I did that on my own back.
Yeah.
And then Jill came with us next time. We did the same again. And eventually we chose this blend when we got there. We've had it ever since.
It's beautiful. Nice.
Yeah, but the funny story of all was when we first started in Claydon, we opened up and we did like an invite for 40 people, just because we'd never done it before. We hadn't a clue what we were doing really. Did an invite thing, so we invited 40 of our friends and said, come down, we'll do all the nibbles, and we'll get you coffees and things like that. Gerald, the MD, Freshback, he said, I'll come and do it. Don't you worry about drinks, you just concentrate on the food and I'll come down and do the machine. And he did. It was brilliant. So cappuccino, mocha, everything else. It was just bang, bang, bang. Every other drink. Following morning, we opened up to the public. Yeah. First person came in, said, 2 cappuccinos and a latte, please. And I looked at Josh. Any ideas? He'd done all the coffee, didn't he? We never even looked at what he did. So we literally taught ourselves.
Winging it. What I was doing with my whole life. Winging it.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jack.
This is Dare to Talk, and today we've got Ian. We're in the Nutshell in Felixstowe, and I must say, I'm sipping on the best coffee in Felixstowe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nutshells by the Sea.
Yeah,
of
Nutshells
course,
by the Sea. Yeah. And your lovely wife Jill just made this.
She did.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I'm gonna have to come back here. It's really lovely. Lovely little place you've got.
You don't have to book because we stopped taking bookings. We generally are pretty full now. And we found that by taking bookings, reserving tables, people wouldn't turn up at the right time.
Right, yeah. So, you don't need to if business is as booming as what it was when I come in and saw you the other day. And I must say as well, when I come and done that talk down here, you put some food out and it was absolutely delicious. So,
thank you.
Yeah, so come and check it out. I asked you to come on because I said briefly when we spoke in the intro that I met you for the first time when I done that talk here. You said a few words at the end, and just the way you spoke and told your story then, it was really inspiring for me, and I thought some of our listeners could get something from it.
Okay.
I spoke briefly about what's happened, so if you just want to start with your story from the beginning, what happened with the fire at your place, and then where you're at now, and we'll just let you take the mic.
Lovely. Tell me when I speak too much, because once I get in the flow, anything could happen. But Jill and I met 8 years ago now, and we were doing separate careers. Jill was a teacher, and I was in printing. And we sort of got together and we got engaged, and then we got married in 2016. And just before that, we decided that we actually wanted to give up our careers and do something which is different, which is ourselves. And the only thing that we could find in common was food and drink. So we decided that we'd open up a cafe. And just digressing slightly, we're typical us, I suppose. We went on a holiday to the west coast of Scotland. And we thought, well, we'll do it up here. This looks a decent place to start. So we went into one of the outer Hebridean islands, and there's no cafes there on a Sunday open, and we happened to arrive on a Sunday, and we found one that was open, but it was a little tea room, and they did their own cakes, their own sandwiches, and everything of their own. And we thought, this would be great, we'll do this. And it was driving rain, it was as it always is out there, and we thought, we could do this, it'd be lovely. So we came back, and on the plane on the way back, we said, well, hang on a minute, we know nothing about coffee, we know nothing about being together, working together, we know nothing about the west coast of Scotland, should we do it at home first and give it a go? So we then went round and we found a place in Claydon, the community centre, and we asked them if they would let us just open a cafe during the day, because nothing was happening. And living in Claydon as we were, or Barham next door, there was the community centre was great in the evenings, but there was no community during the day. And we thought, let's ask them if we can open a cafe in there and just get people to use the facilities and to get together, because there was no meeting place. Even in Claydon now, there's no meeting places. So we decided we'd approach them. They said, yeah, okay, why not? And that's how the journey started. So we'll cut a long story short, but I mean that was pretty successful in terms of the way we built that up. We were very lucky because we're right next to two schools, and our kids were at the two schools. So guess what? We had all the school kids, we had all the teachers, we had everybody coming to us, and that gave us a really good market. So we built that up from nothing. Within a year, we had queues all day, just more and more tables. But the great thing about it was people were mixing and mingling and just talking to everybody. And that made us very much, I think, aware of what we could do. That all went a little bit sour because they decided that they would double the rent because we were so successful.
You were successful.
So we then had to say, right, okay, sorry, we don't play games. Look, we're just here for the community. And we were charging like £1.50 a coffee or something like that. We weren't making any money. But it was just, we were learning our trade. And the place turned up in Stowupland, which had 19 seats, so about the size of a quarter of this really. And so we took it, and that was downstairs, so it was in the basement. So people had to really go and find us in the building. I mean, Sproughton's difficult enough to find without having to go downstairs when you get to the place. We developed that as well until we had permanent queues. I mean, literally permanent queues. And we kept asking ourselves, what is it? You know, why are we so successful? And we weren't like making lots of money. It was more that we were just getting people to meet us and greet us. And I think really it became fairly obvious that they were coming to talk to Jill and I, because we like talking and listening, and it is about listening as well, isn't it? So anyway, we built that up, and then one day the dishwasher packed up. We had a dishwasher in the kitchen. The kitchen's not much bigger than this table when it's extended, but we had a dishwasher in there, and it packed up. And one of our customers said, you want to go over to Stowupland? There's a place there just closing down, and they're selling everything. They don't have a dishwasher. So I literally got in the car and drove to Stowupland there and then. And I was greeted with a full car park, big car park, full car park, massive place. And they literally closed down. They were selling off everything in there. Everything, and there's so many people there, it was unbelievable. So the fact that I got in the car and gone was fortunate.
Yeah.
And I went in, and so many people I didn't know who to talk to. Eventually, found the right person. I said, "Look, what's going on? You know, why does? I'd like to buy a dishwasher if you've got one." She said, "Yeah, it's still there. It's marked up with a price. Go and have a look at it." And I said, "Yeah, but what's happening? So many people here. You're selling everything. Are you not giving? You know, why are you giving up?" So we had a chat. She said, "Well, it's a bit of a family problem, family issue, being a breakup and everything else, and we just can't get anybody else to take the place, so we're packing up." I said, "Do me a favour, close the door." So we'd love to have a place like this, because we had like this little place in Sproughton, 19 seats, or about 30 by then, and I said, we'd love it. And she said, "Serious?" I said, "Yeah, close the door, get rid of everybody, and we'll buy what's in here, but then we'll have to come to some agreement about the building and everything else." And within a few hours, I'd had a little chat, and then I had to go back and tell Jill the bad news that I'd got a dishwasher. But
it's in the new building.
We've also got a new place.
Yeah.
So again, cutting a long story short, we took over Stowupland, and there was 40 covers in there, which is nice. I mean, it's just ideal for us. But it was a market we didn't know, it's an area we didn't know, and we just literally took we were really lucky, because all our staff said, and we did have quite a few staff to deal with in Sproughton, all our staff said, "Well, we'll come." So we literally got into two cars and drove them over there and had a look at the place. Yeah. So, "Oh yeah, we love it." And do you know what? They came up with the ideas. And we've had this conversation before, haven't we?
Yeah.
But suddenly, if you empower people and just say, "Look, we'll listen, just do it." And they came up with a lot of really good ideas. And we had so many people there and just helping us just do the whole thing. So we had a running concern anyway, because what was left was still okay. But then we stamped our mark on it with the help of all that stuff. And every one of that, I don't think anybody left. I think literally the whole staff just moved over there with us. So they were driving from, that side of Ipswich or Sporting or wherever. Claydon.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, totally. And I like the idea of empowering the staff, and they come up with the ideas. That's something I'm a manager in my place of work, and I really try my best to try and empower them. So I want them to be coming up with the ideas. And when they do come to me and they present something, back it to the hill and just we'll figure it out and make it workable within the environment that we're in. And I think that's so important, because I think they get that sense of that they're appreciated, and that they've got a voice and an input, and
that's what people want, isn't it? As long as you've got to acknowledge them as well, because it's so easy to pinch their ideas, isn't it? If you acknowledge them, and they'll go with you, and they develop the business faster than any individual can. I mean, we're lucky because Jill and I do a lot of things. We bounce, it's 24/7 with us. We bounce things off each other all the time. But if you've got 8 people or 10 people doing it, it's even faster. And Stowupland grew really quick. I mean, when we went in, there was this like conservatory with 40 seats in it, and a big kitchen, and that was it, you know. And they'd had freezers and fridges, and they did lots. It was like a farm shop before. We didn't want a farm shop because we don't know a great deal about farming. So we developed it and we stamped our own bit. And every day people would come in and we'd be doing something different. Mm. It literally was that. And then I suppose we were there, 12, 15 months, and we got regular customers coming in every day. And literally, because there was nowhere else. And if you go to Stowupland now, it's still the same. There's a fish and chip shop, there's a butcher's, and there's a co-op garage and store, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there was us, so we became very much a destination point for the village and a meeting point again. And I think that came over, and we thought, let's just respond, let's just give them somewhere to go to. And as it happened, they're building a lot of houses between the old village and where we were, and that was progressing as well. So as well as the builders and the joiners and the plumbers and the electricians and everybody else that came in, people were actually moving into those houses, and we became like, you know, a place for them. Then COVID happened, and for 3 months everybody in the hospitality industry closed down. We had to, and then we thought, we're not going to close, we're going to, as soon as we got a chance to, we could open as a takeaway, and that's how it worked. And then we started to deliver to people, because there's a lot of older people in the village who didn't dare come out, you know. And we talked to them and listened to what their stories were. And when it came to COVID, we had, and we reopened, we had a lot of names, addresses and telephone numbers of customers, and emails as well, I suppose. And we just contacted them and said, anything we can do. And they responded in a way that you'd never believe.
It's hard to see why you've been so successful wherever you've been. It sounds like you really built a heart of the community there.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah, and they were, I mean, funny story, I suppose. Well, there's loads of little funny stories, because with the older brigade, you tend to get some lovely stories, you know. But we had this couple who were 93 and 94, I think. And they lived in the village, but they used to drive. And one would drive there, and the other one would drive back. And they were both still driving, even in the mid-90s. And even now, we're in touch with one now, one sadly passed away. But it's amazing, that relationship and rapport. And then when we'd finished, we'd drop off some sandwiches or whatever on the way home. You know, it was easy for us, really. We were doing it anyway. But there was lots of things like that. And we had a guy in on Tuesday here. Tuesday, 4 o'clock, he came in, and we'd already closed. But we knew him. And his dad had been one of the, who again passed away during COVID, but he'd been one of our first customers in Stowupland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he used to come in like, last of the summer wine, there were 3 of them, and they'd come in. And they're all in their 80s and 90s, but they absolutely adored coming in on a Saturday morning. But they'd entertain us. You know, it was brilliant listening to some of the stories and stuff like that. But anyway, so we developed it really, and we sort of, we had 130 seats in the end, so we trebled the size of it. And we built a massive food retail area, so that people who wanted their biscuits or their stuff, was even advertising, you know, all the chutneys and jams and pickles and everything, flour, because flour in COVID was impossible to get. And guess what? We had shelves of it. So people came in and they supported us that way. First of all, as takeaways, and then obviously when we were allowed to have them sat down with spaces and gaps and everything else, social distancing, we did that as well, because we just kept changing it and responded. And you know, people going for lots of walks, because there was nothing else for them to do. They could walk in 1s and then 2s and all that stuff. And they all came in and found us. And we were like half a mile, 3/4 of a mile out of the village. Perfect. Go and grab a cup of the takeaway cup, and off you go again. Maybe some cakes or something like that. So this all went on in COVID, and we became very successful, really. And then we changed lots more. We put a giftware barn in as well as a food retail. So we were quite a big operation, 5,000 square foot, so it's huge. And that was a success. But then, January 29th, it all went horribly wrong. it was a Saturday morning, and the wind was about twice as gusty as it is tonight. And I mean, it's pretty gusty out there anyway. There was no rain; it was just the wind, and the fire. I mean, I could go into all the detail, but the fire started outside the building, but the direction of the wind took it in to the corner of our building. Jill and I were in the kitchen because we would always get there early in the morning, 7 o'clock and whatever. Didn't open till 10, and we were in the kitchen baking and getting ready and everything else. And we were oblivious to anything going on outside. There was nothing that we'd done, nothing that anybody else had done for that matter. And then Jill went to do a bit of a recce, and before we opened up at 10 o'clock, because we used to go around about 9:45, put lights on, things like that. She went, the smoke. And then she went to the door to have a look outside the front door, which was probably 50 metres from where we'd been in the kitchen, a long way. And she said, "We got a problem, man. Help me, there's a fire. And of course, this would have been about 10 to 10. And she came screaming and she said, "No, this is serious. I need to get outside and have a look." So we locked ourselves in, inevitably. We both ran to the door and we couldn't get out because the keys were back in the kitchen. So we ran back into the kitchen, got the keys, went outside, and outside the building a fire had developed and it had gone up the telegraph pole, and there were people just then starting to arrive, customers, staff, all just turning up in the car park, and everyone's seen the same thing, so virtually everyone was on the phone to fire brigade. And from nothing, and we've heard since lots of stories about at 9:45 there was no sign of it, or 20 to 10 there was no sign of a fire or anything. It was some old ashes that got sparked from the wind underneath and took it up in a freak accident, and it took out the corner, well, it took out a telegraph pole and then somehow quickly spread to the building. 7 minutes past 10 the first fire engine arrived from Stowupland, and they were obviously concerned, and we'd done all sorts of things. We'd gone inside, I tried to put it out with the fire extinguisher. Jill had got the fire extinguishers out from the inside of the building. We had loads of those, trying to put it out outside. And then I said, "Well, crumbs, all the power's on. I need to go turn the power off because it's now catching the corner of the building. If anything happens, anything could happen." So we ran back in, turned all the power, well, not the power, we turned all the machines off because there's lots of ovens and things like that going, were quite a big concern. And went to we had 2 power sources, and went to one to try and turn them off, and the smoke inside the building then started to spread. So went outside and grabbed another fire extinguisher, ran back inside, put that out on the inside of the building because you were just literally hitting whatever was there in front of you. Then we realised it had already spread into the side of our building from outside. So on one of the journeys outside, the people in the car park said, "You're not going back in. We can see from out here it's a lot worse than you think it is." And then the fire brigade arrived, and they were only concerned about anybody being in there. Well, fortunately, Jill and I were the only 2, and by then we were into the car park. I was coughing and sputtering from all the smoke, but we managed it. We were in the car park, and they said, "Right, nobody else goes in. You're in charge. You tell us where everything is. We will fight the fire. We'll sort it out." And then 2 more arrived within a few minutes. I and Ipswich, I think, were the second one to get there. But the fire just took hold, and within 15, 20 minutes, maybe by 10:30, it had taken out a lot of the building. Even then, we had 29 fire crews, 29, there's only 35 in the whole of Suffolk. And we unfortunately had to stand and watch it because
that must have been horrific.
The tears.
Was you panicking? Was you shell shocked?
Shock, 100% shock. I mean, you're watching everything you've ever worked from, and that's why that first part of the story is so important. How you developed it and built it, and it's not a financial thing; it's an emotional thing, as much as anything else. And then I think what made it worse, we had a lot of our staff. I think there was 7 or 8 of them were in the car park, and they were feeling it for us, and we were feeling it for them. customers were still arriving because, to all intents and purposes, we were open, you know. Lovely story, because I was always, you can't see from there, but shorts and t-shirt, because that's my uniform. Yeah. And when you're in the kitchen, that's what you wear. Yeah. On January 29th, it's quite cold, 50 mile an hour gale, and I'm stood in the car park in this watching everything we've ever worked for burn down. Yeah. And the fire guys are saying, you need to stay there, I'm really sorry, because we will give you a 15-minute by 15-minute report of what's going on, but we will want the feedback from you as to where the doors are, what our plan is. So having to draw a schematic plan of the building, any gas canisters, things like that. There's so many questions. And obviously we had a lot of the power for the village came through us, and that was all switched off very, very quickly. I mean, I have to say the fire brigade were immense, unbelievable, but also our staff were immense, their parents were immense, their customers were fantastic. One guy said to me, he said, you must be cold. I said, yeah, but I'm cold, but it's like a hot fire just there, you know. And he went off, without saying anything, he went off to Tesco and he bought me a jumper and a scarf and some gloves and a hat to... And he didn't have to do that, did
kindness through tragedy are
amazing.
Inspiring, aren't they?
Amazing.
Yeah.
We had to stand there all day, and the fire brigade were immense, tremendous. And then, of course, the investigations start by 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. We had 100 firefighters in that building. Most of them were running in the oxygen mask and coming out 15 minutes and then going back in again. I mean, they're so brave, I mean, immense. Yeah. I'm trying to say that. The other thing, there was a farmhouse right behind us, and they were trying to stop the farmhouse, because if you hit the farmhouse, there were then livestock were actually in the barns next to there. So it was could have been a bigger tragedy than even it was. Yeah. I mean, you know, just purely, as it turned out, the investigation was freak circumstances, purely the direction of the wind. And do you know what, we had to go? I think we left about 6ish, something like that. They said, look, it's gone. You know, they're being able to bulldoze it and flatten the whole place. Yeah. But there was still hot spots coming up everywhere. One lovely story, because they asked us to go around just to have a look with them before we left, just to, I don't know, there was some sort of communication about what could have been there, etc. And the investigation was starting, to be fair, the chief officer was there as well. And one of the Newmarket fire guys who'd been there, I think he's about 7th to arrive, and they were so quick. And he was still there, and he said, come on, I'll take you around, because he tried to find Jill's handbag. Jill, obviously all our personal possessions were inside as well. And Jill had lost her handbag, and he'd actually gone in, smashing doors down, trying to find it, because we'd shown him where on a map it was. And he came and he said, I really couldn't. He said, you can go in there with me now. He said, but watch the hot spots. I'll fight the hot spots. If you see any flames, you know what it is. And the place was an absolute wreck. I mean, pictures, there's loads of pictures about it.
Heartbreaking to see it like that.
Frightening.
Yeah.
Frightening. But it was that far from the house. Yeah. So had they not been there, had they not done what they did, it would have been the house, it would have been the farm, there were pigs and ducks and everything else in there. It would have been a massive tragedy. Yeah. As it was, and they were lost to life. We can stomach everything else, emotion and all that. It's difficult. Yeah. But had it been 8 o'clock the following morning, nothing would have happened, because all the wind had gone. Yeah. And it was the 50 mile, 60 mile an hour, and whatever it was, going straight through the building at the wrong angle that had created what happened. The fire guys were fantastic, and they hung around with us for 72 hours, I guess, till about Monday, Tuesday, really just talking to us and supporting us, really. Should mention the Salvation Army, who turned up to support the firefighters during the day, and us, you know, because it was great to have some soup and something, you know, that was a bit warm. But we realised we'd lost everything. They bulldozed it, knocked the front down. But come back to the Newmarket store, which I'd gone away from. We were going round, and he said, there ain't anything left. He said, but if you can find a handbag under there, you know, there might be some keys you can use. So we went inside the wreckage, and there was a little hedgehog eating an apple, with like a giftware thing that we sold. He said, that's all there is. That's it. So everything, that's all there was left, really. half a sign and a few, even like the ovens, which were massive, had melted. It was that hot.
That's scary, really.
It is scary.
Yeah, it shows you how intense them flames were. And thank God you both got out and you did. And
yeah,
if you can take the positives from any negatives, and then that's definitely a massive one. That no one was hurt, but it must have been mentally draining for. That must. Have you recovered fully from that?
We have now.
Yeah.
I think.
How long did that take?
The first week was horrendous because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there was all the press stuff, there was all the radio stuff.
Yeah. And can I just make an important point as well? You were saying about COVID and having to adapt to all that. That was stressful enough for any business going through just that. So when you finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, for that to happen as well, on top of the last couple of years you've had, that must have been another kick to your mental health, like massively. Because I'm not saying you struggled through, but everyone I think struggled to some extent through COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We invested. We saw COVID because of where we were and the village expanding, loads and loads of new houses going in. We actually saw it as a major opportunity for us. We had the family involved as well, so 2 of the kids were actually working with us. So we become very much a family concern.
Yeah.
And so we took it as an opportunity to invest and develop and create more for the community and obviously for us. I mean, there was something in it for us as well. But because we're a family doing it, it became our total focus. So when COVID finished, we went, wow, we've done it. We've not just got through, and there was never that like magic day, was there? It just developed and evolved. We've not just got through, but we've got a stronger, better offering than we've ever had. We've developed with the gaps, really. And so we were in a really strong position. And then within, 3 months, we had nothing. I mean, literally, ashes. Mentally, if it hadn't been for support for ourselves, I mean, we're very strong people. We have to be. We're probably a lot stronger now. And we're probably stronger than we thought we were, if you know what I mean.
Through what you go through.
I mean, Jill said straight away, we were stood in the car park, I think somebody said, is that it? Is that finished? I think it might have been Alex, the eldest. And we said, no, you can't just walk away from this. We'll rebuild it, do it again. And it was that I think it was all good words at the time, if you know what I mean. It was a reaction. And so for the first week, it was really quite difficult before reality then set in, and we thought, crumbs, we've lost everything we've worked for the last, ever since we met. It had just gone. And it had gone so quickly. And we had to watch it go, you know. And then we started all the processes of what do we do now, and we talked to the farmer Robert about rebuilding it. We talked to everybody about what to do next. And of course, for a while you just in this sort of vacuum. You don't know what to do. The kids started to develop their own careers, so they quickly found alternative jobs, if you like. And that left Jill and I saying, well, what do we do now? And it sounds like great when you can have a few months holiday, but then it's when all you want to do is do what you've been doing.
Get
well.
Back to where you've been as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I suppose for a few weeks it was all right, then a month, and then we thought, well, hang on, we can't just not do anything. So we start to explore all the options. We put in a container, because we live here, we live in Trimley, so 5 minutes from where we are now. And we explored the idea of a container in the car park. We bounced it off people there. We sponsored a football club locally, Stowupland Falcons, one of the young kids, young teams, and that was what we were about, part of that. And they were immense, and they were absolutely immense, and they raised some cash for us, so they're just giving pages, because we had no income, and we had zero income. It had all just gone. And we'd lost all our stock, and we'd lost all our fixed and fittings, we'd lost our investment, we'd lost everything really. And we were just strong with each other, and we sort of worked through it, I suppose, and we didn't do anything.
Just
we went for long walks, you know, took the dogs out, did things we'd never been able to do because we didn't have time. Tried to support each other, explored lots of avenues. We were really worried. We had 19 staff, and I think that was probably our first concern was crumbs. They don't have any money either. It's not about us. We've got some savings, we can survive, you know, but could they? Because they relied on us. So we obviously told them what had happened, where we were. It was going to be 18 months to rebuild at the minimum. So look, we'll support you, get in whatever employment you can. We know you have tea rooms, cafes, restaurants, places like that, which is your skills. And I think virtually all of them got alternative employment. One or two didn't want to because they chose to do different things. That's fine. But we managed to find places for all of them.
That's
so
amazing. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
But that was a weight off our minds. Can you imagine the weight off your mind when you've sort of, well, we've looked after others. We're strong anyway. We'll get through it. But can we get them through it as well?
And I think that speaks volumes as you do as people, and I think that's just incredible. And I think you've got a very amazing, like you get knocked down 7 times, you get back up 8, and that's the way you look at life, and the all positive attitude is why you've got back here, because a lot of people would have given up at that point. And I think it's incredible, and what you've done with this place is amazing as well. And for you to go through COVID and all that, and then we're sat in here now, I for one am very proud of you as a person.
Well, we're proud as well.
Yeah.
And we're proud of what we've achieved. This story is quite an interesting one as well, because obviously that happened, took us, I think it was early April, before we started to say, well, hang on, we can't put a container. Containers were ridiculous price because we were in that early rounds of inflation as well. And also there was a lot more to it because you then had to find water and power and things like that. So it was going to be a very expensive rebuild very quickly. So we started looking around elsewhere, and Felixstowe became the obvious because we were here. So we literally, Jill and I went round the streets here looking to see if there were anywhere shut. And this place was closed down and had been throughout COVID, and I think they'd suffered from the COVID bit. You know, the trouble was that nobody around here knew who owned it, who owned the building. It was quite a feat. But this is where determination comes in. We just literally found it, saw it, said we'd love to have a place like that. That'd be amazing. A lot smaller.
There's a theme here, isn't there? You go with your
instinct. Yeah, but
you're not scared to take a risk either, are you? Do you think that's that's obviously played a massive role in your success? Because you've got the bollocks, to take a risk.
But we're both brave. Individually, we're brave. Together, collectively, we are immensely brave. And I think we egg each other on a little bit as well. You know,
to be successful in anything in life, you've got to be willing to take risks.
And this was a risk because we didn't know the market. We went through town and saw all the various eateries, you know, cause whether they're called cafes, fish and chip shops, restaurants, it doesn't matter. And in fact, our best friends also live in Trimley, and they said, you must be joking. When we said we'd probably try and open up here, they went, no, you've got no chance. You know, knowing what you've done before, even you have got no chance of doing anything here. And I suppose that made us more determined. Because if someone says you can't do it, you might as well have a go.
I know about that. I know all about that, mate, definitely. But no, it's an incredible story, isn't it?
We tracked down the landlord. We asked everybody, and nobody knew, and we tracked them down through the land registry. That's how we actually found them in the end. And I think they were as surprised as we were when we got on the phone to them. But they were so supportive right from the word go, because they had 3 years of nobody being here, so they wanted somebody to come in and develop it. And that's what happened. I mean, and we then told all our friends, customers, every previous customers, what was going on. And I mean, once we got the keys from the landlord, and we hadn't even signed the lease at that stage, so maybe I shouldn't say that, but we had. But the keys just suddenly appeared. Go have a look. We came in, and it was obviously run down. And you don't leave a place 3.5 years and not be run down. So we came in, and Jill in particular was determined. She was more determined than I was. I think we can probably make a go of it, but I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a vision even at that stage, whereas Jill had a vision and she knew what we could do here. Yeah. I think at the time we hadn't realised it was a Bonnet coffee shop, but we both knew of the Bonnet coffee shop going way back, but we hadn't realised it was this building, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And our synergy with that type of thing, is important really, because that's what's helped us develop it. Yeah. And anyway, so a lot of friends came round and said, I've got a paintbrush, I've got this, I've got some joinery skills, I can take things off the wall. So there's a lot of people destroying things in here very quickly, rebuilding it. I mean, we've had some
You've had a lot of help from wherever you've been, but that's because as well, and we spoke about in the podcast before, you draw in what you give out, I think, and you clearly help other people. Yeah. Your business burns to the ground and you're concerned about your employees' jobs. And that says what you're like as a person, and that's probably why so many people are willing to help you as well, because you help so many others as well. So what goes around definitely comes around.
I think that's right. Yeah. And things like doing a project like this, make that even more apparent. Yeah. One guy just turned up. He said, "I've got 2.5 hours in for you." He lived in Stowmarket. Yeah. So driven here. I've got 2.5 hours to give you. What do you want me to do? Yeah. What do you say? Thank you. Yeah. Like, whatever. Get a paintbrush, do whatever.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But people were immense. I mean, they really were. And that meant when we signed the lease on the 1st September, we set ourselves a target very quickly of opening within 3 weeks, which we failed. And we don't mind saying we failed. It was too much of a challenge. Mm-hmm. But, we had scaffolding outside and people were walking past going, oh, somebody's actually doing something with the shop. You may well have been one of them. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know, but people were stopping, saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And we just told everybody what we were doing, really. And then they all sort of, not all, but a lot of them related to what they'd remembered about seeing in the press, things like that. So we got a lot of support before we opened, and the opening was very much a soft opening. I mean, because we'd done all this inside, and we were still, the bench you're sat on wasn't ready. It just wasn't ready. The night before we opened, and it was actually the 29th, the Thursday the 29th, so it was literally 8 months after the fire. The night before, the Wednesday night, we had nothing in the kitchen, nothing. And then Jill's brother turned up with some, because he's in the industry, turned up with some worktops and tables, stainless steel trolleys. And, I mean, we had things coming, but they hadn't arrived, and then it all arrived. So about 6:30 on Wednesday night, there was nothing in there. By midnight, there was about a dozen of us in here, something like that, and we cleaned everything, made it spotless, put it all in position, and then Jill and I left, and 5 o'clock in the morning we were back baking. I mean, literally 5 hours later we were baking, because we do all our own baking here. We don't buy anything. Everything is us two doing it, really, plus staff as well. But we're always in every morning baking, and by 5 o'clock we were in. By 10 o'clock we opened the doors, and somebody came in at 1 minute past 10. It's like, oh, we're open. Oh yeah, we are. Yeah. And honestly, the support. The interesting thing, and I think I've said this before, that the interesting thing was we didn't just have people from Stowupland who'd been with us before, people from Stowupland or Claydon or wherever. We didn't just have their support, but the Felixstowe people and the town itself, the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, that's how we met, isn't it? Yeah. And everyone seemed to want to just support us and do, push us on. Yeah. I've got to mention it, haven't I? Because we're waiting for the signs, and I'd rather hope they'd be here. But one of our customers said to us very early on that whatever you two do, the comeback will be even stronger than the setback. Yeah. And do you know what? That rung, and it wasn't us who came up with it. Somebody else came and said that to us. And that's become our mantra.
That's what we said, that things don't happen to you, that happened for you. You just
Yeah.
don't see it at the time, do you? But
Yeah.
I do generally believe in fate, and you've ended up in a good place, and I'm glad.
We're happy.
To go through what you have is, wish that on anyone, and that's very tragic, and it's just horrible thing to go through. But to get to where you are now and to establish this, and it's a great story, really.
We're busy every day.
And it's got such a great buzz to it, this place. When I come in for
Yeah,
coffee with you the other day, you're having banter with your customers. And did you know them customers from before?
Some
of them.
Some, but some we'd never met.
Yeah.
What's interesting now is we've got regulars here who are regulars in Felixstowe.
Yeah.
We didn't know them before we opened, but they're now coming in every day.
Yeah.
And we begin to get to know their
So
names, they know us.
It's like you've known them for years, but I suppose
Sometimes.
that's why you're good at what you do.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them we have known for years,
Yeah.
and some of them, it's incredible. We've put 2 people in there the other day. They'd followed us from Claydon to Sproughton to Stowupland and now to here.
Again, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does.
And the menu's the same. No, we have developed it.
People who are listening to this have got to come try it out. It's the food, the atmosphere, everything's brilliant, and just come and show your support because you've been through not that you need it by the sounds of it.
Well, everyone needs support.
Yeah, but come down and show some support because you've been through a lot and you've come out on top, and that is a fantastic. That's one of my favourite ones we've done so far.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome.
Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And coffee's free.
I'll have another one.
Just turn the machine off.